Very good afternoon, everyone. I hope my voice is audible. Let me just quickly give permissions to all for chat. Yeah, I think you will be able to chat now. Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible? Okay, great. Yeah. Good afternoon, Ms. Bharati, Ms. Ashwini, Ms. Atira. Yeah. Okay. So we will get started in about 5 minutes. We're just waiting for a few more audience to join us, and then we'll get started. Yeah. Good afternoon, Ms. Namrata. Good afternoon, Mr. Vijay, Ms. Pankita. Yeah. Good afternoon, Ms. Richa, Mr. Pratik, Ms. Rupali. Okay. Good to see. So let me not keep you all waiting here. How about we have a small interaction in the meantime on chat itself? I'd like to know what, of course, you know what's today's topic very well. I would like to know what exactly is it that you're expecting to hear? What do you think is going to be heard out today? What do you think is going to be there presented by our speaker? Let us hear you out. You can type on the chat in the meantime. I will address it as we go forward. Okay, good afternoon to the rest of them who joined a little earlier. Okay, I see Mr. Ajit who's mentioned. Okay, Mr. Ajit, employing tech staff, precautions to be taken, employee-centric organization, what it means exactly, and how one can have empowerment to employees irrespective of designations. Okay, okay, great. Ms. Namrata says how to increase employee value proposition. Okay, I think that will be addressed today. Question from Ms. Richa, what can we offer so that there are no last minute dropouts? Okay, interesting. Great. I see Mr. Satya raised his hand. Mr. Satya, is there something that you'd like to talk? Okay. All right. We will start in about 2 minutes. Okay. Mr. Namrata says how to deal with employees who discuss about salaries with others. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. How to stop that? Okay. Audience, I hope my voice is audible, right? Hope it's loud and clear. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Great. Wonderful. So let us get started. I think there will be a few more people who will be joining as the session proceeds. Very good afternoon to everyone once again. First of all, thank you all for taking time out towards the end of the month. I know it's tight for all of you, but thanks a lot for joining us on yet another webinar. This is in fact our second exclusive webinar with Ms. Jyothi Santosh Nair. So I'm sure there are people who had attended our previous webinar on Jan 31st. I believe there might be some repeat audience today as well. So as you know, our topic today is going to be employer value proposition. So let's see what we have on offer as we move forward. But before that, let me drive you through a short presentation of the company that I represent, that is Web Solutions. Followed by which I will introduce our speaker and hand it over to her. And let me introduce myself. I am Siddharth Nandakumar. I handle product marketing at Web Solutions. I will be your moderator for the day. So a little bit of gist regarding the company, Web Solutions. We were in fact part of Wipro itself back in those days. In 2000, the company decided to become a separate entity. So we were initially the peripherals manufacturing division of the company. We were also into dot matrix printer manufacturing. So this is what our business line was. But over the years, with rapid growth, the evolution of the market, the industry, a lot of changes have happened, right? So through that, our company has also gone through evolution, and today we have multiple solution offerings. Other than just the managed print services part, we have digital transformation solutions as well today to address something that all of you can relate to. I'm guessing most of our audience today is HR audience. We also have a HR automation solution in hand today. So let me move forward. Now, these are some of the key pointers of our company. And on our solution lineup, I will show you as we move forward on our slides. All right, now this is on the solution end. As I had mentioned, we have something called managed print services. Our digital transformation solution lineup namely holds two different solutions. One is GST, then we have a document management or workflow automation solution. If you remember, I addressed something on the HR automation that falls under this category. And we also have RICO office printing solutions. And lastly, we have presence on the retail end as well. Now, let me give a small gist of each of the solutions that we have on offer today. Managed print services. Ideally, what this means is we offer asset management. We will be able to manage your printer infrastructure within your company. What this means is if you have multiple branches with n number of printers, we as a vendor will be we will offer to manage all your printers. Your printer network basically is something that we take care of. We will be able to add new printers. We'll be able to handle your existing printers. We will also be taking care of all your peripherals related things such as your cartridges, your toner levels, number of papers, etc. And you might ask me how exactly is the charging based on, right? We charge you on a pay per use basis. Based on how many papers you print on a periodic basis, we will charge on that end. And aside this, we undertake complete service and support. We in fact have presence in over 2000 plus locations in India. Moving forward, we have our RICO office automation end. Now, what this means is we basically are the authorized distributor for RICO Japan. RICO is the Asian giant for printing, that is print infra, print solutions. They do not have sole presence in India. We take care of that through a partnership on a distributor level. So we have about 10-15 RICO printers on our portfolio as well. And complete service and support is also taken care by us. Let's move on to the digital transformation end. We have GST and DMS. Now, on the GST end, I'm sure all of you know what GST is. On the tax end, we take care of filing, reconciliation, e-bill, e-invoicing, all of this through one platform. It's a one-stop solution for anything, everything GST. Aside this, we undertake most ERP integrations, that is SAP, Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics, so on and so forth. Moving on, I'd like to explain a little more about what we have. On the document management end, we have a document repository solution hosted on cloud. Along with this, we also have a workflow automation engine built to the platform with which we can provide you business process automation. Now, something you all can correlate. We have workflow automation ready to go for candidate onboarding, your employee records management, employee offboarding, things like that is something we take care of. And lastly, we have a digital signature solution as well. We are integrated with eMudra. Okay. So as I was explaining about my document management solution, these are some of the things that we take care of. Also, on a side note, I see a few more have mentioned questions on chat. Good to see the engagement, guys. Thanks a lot. We'd also like to see some on the Q&A tab. You can put it there as well as we move forward. We will be taking up queries as the session proceeds. Let's move forward. Now, these are some of our clients. And some of our core DMS clients is something I'd like to show. We have PhonePe and Flipkart who use our HR employee records management solution. We have Omega Healthcare. We also have MRF, largest tire manufacturing company in India, who are based in Chennai. We have automated their complete procurement process with the same solution. We also have Galaxy in Mumbai, who use our HR automation solution. Now, before I head forward, thank you all for your patience. I would like to launch a quick poll for all of you. Just let me know if you're able to see this on your screen. Okay. So I'd like to know if you are currently exploring or would you be interested in seeing a free demo of what our solution has to offer. Our HR automation solution is something that we can show you based on your availability. Please note it will be a free demo, of course. We'll be able to understand what your requirement is, and based on that, we can take it forward. Once again, thank you all for joining. I'm sure some of you are curious on what we have on plate today. If there are any further things that you would like to point out, please put it on the chat. I will be able to check it out at a later stage. I'll end the poll in about 20 seconds. All right. Thank you all. Thank you all. Let me end the poll. Great. Okay. So without any further ado, I'm sure all of you have been waiting for this. Let me introduce the speaker for the day, Ms. Jyothi Santosh Nair. As I had mentioned, this is in fact our second webinar with her, our second exclusive webinar. Ms. Jyothi Santosh Nair is a HR expert with over 23 years of corporate and consultancy expertise, extending to various divisions such as strategic HR, capability building, and also L&D, that is learning and development. She has also held various executive roles over the years, and she had peaked in her career as Group Head HR, Bronet Group. She has also served as the head of human capital management at a Dubai-based organization that is Marina Home Interiors. Prior to this, she has also held managerial roles such as senior manager roles at ACC Limited, Mahindra and Mahindra in India. Her experiences add credible value to those aspiring to make a difference in the field of HR. As I mentioned, some of the areas that she's well-versed and has expertise is performance management system, compensation and benefits, L&D, organizational development, strategic HR, line HR. And she also has played a critical role in marketing and branding as well over the years. I'd also like to mention that she's the HR consultant at her venture, that is JSN Consultants. I take great pleasure in introducing her on yet another webinar with us. I'm sure the audience is looking forward to directly hearing from you, ma'am. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Siddharth, for this wonderful introduction. Likewise, I'm looking forward to this webinar, and I'm happy that about 45 people have joined us today and here to listen to us. Good afternoon. So today's topic on employer value proposition. So just quickly on the chat, can I have some people replying? What do you mean by employer value proposition? Your thoughts on employer value proposition quickly on the chat box, please.
Yeah, let's hear your audience. What is your understanding on employer value proposition? In short, EVP.
Okay.
Okay.
Not bad, not bad. Yeah. Closer. Namrata, thank you so much for your reply. Creating a brand value for employees and other stakeholders. Richa, good one. Adira says what employer can offer to employees. Very correct, very correct. So values of the company, trust. Why should an employee stay with us? Absolutely, Pallavi. Divakar Chauhan says employee satisfaction and benefits closer. Yes. So thank you so much for a quick response, and I'm sure all of you are excited to discuss this topic, as I'm equally excited to talk about it. So the agenda is, what is employer value proposition? Why EVP is required? How EVP is communicated? And how EVP is reflected in people practices. These are the 4 things that we're going to discuss today. Next slide, please. So there are many definitions of employer value proposition. We're not here to get into the bookish knowledge of what employer value proposition is. We are here to try and understand how we can implement them in our organization. So I just picked up one definition that attracted me the most, and I'd like to read that out to you. An employer value proposition is a promise you make as an employer to the employees in return for their commitment. This promise entails the sum of all benefits and rewards employees receive from the organization they work for. So it is a promise. It is not necessarily everything that your contract states. It is something beyond what a contract states. It is the tangible as well as the intangible benefits an employee receives while he or she is associated with your organization. So this is something that attracts an employee to join your organization and to stay with your organization. Next slide, please. So the Microsoft study in this year states that 41% of the global workforce are considering leaving their employers. Now, there is something, we have heard about the concept of Great Depression and so on and so forth. Now, one of the professors in Texas in the year 2021 coined the concept of Great Resignation, the tsunami of resignation, which actually has taken place in the year 2022. 2023 and 2024, we are yet to see. Companies are not competing against each other these days. So what are they competing against? So let me just quickly ask you, what are the companies competing against for talent? If they are not competing against each other for talent, what are they competing against? Any thought? Okay. Companies are competing against culture. Companies are competing against what the changing needs of the recent generation, the changing needs of the new gen employees, whatever you may call as millennials, Gen Z, all of them, their requirement towards their employment is much different from what the baby boomers had. So let me tell you what are the early retirement. People are not waiting till their retirement age to have retirement. So your compensation and your benefits should align to this early retirement concept. Why? They are not interested in concepts such as provident fund, gratuity, so on and so forth. Do you agree with me? Do you face these concerns when people tell you that give me more take homes and less? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so this is the concern. So how we are, but that is not something which we can do legally, because there are certain legalities and statutory concerns with that. However, employees are more concerned with their take home salaries. Employees are more concerned with the benefits that they get in order to have an integration of work life balance. Now, why am I talking about the concept of integration of work life balance? There is no work life balance as a concept these days. There is work life integration. Either there is work or there is life. So here the employees are expecting that at their workplace they get a lot of time to relax, to rejuvenate, and then get back to their work. So many organizations are creating a lot of refreshment areas, areas for people to actually rejuvenate and get back to their work. Why are they doing that? Because today the concept of work-life balance is no longer existing. It is work-life integration. You have to integrate both work and life. What is the other example of work-life integration? Your work from home concept, your hybrid working concept. All these are work-life integration concepts. So gone are those days when we spoke about work-life balance. The current generation has a lot of entrepreneurial tendencies, the ability to take risk, the ability to start their own organization, as a result of which it is very difficult to find good talent in the market who's willing to stay in the organization for a long period of time. They're associated with you for some time and then they move into the entrepreneurial ventures. So these are few things. The companies are competing for talent. Companies are not competing against each other only for talent, right? Next slide, please. So that next slide.
Just one moment, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. So just a little bit of stats. About 50.5 million people quit their jobs in 2022 in the US alone, against the previous record of 47.8 million in 2021. Although the Great Resignation was a 2021 story, 2022 was a real contributing year. And what about 2023 and 2024? We are yet to see to what extent we can relive the Great Resignation as a concept. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, Neha. You're right. Value proposition could be tangible as well as intangible. I'll come to that. We are going to discuss that in the coming slides. So Randstad Study India 2022 report. I've just put few key learnings. These are all precursors to what employer value proposition is all about. Top sectors by EVP drivers are IT, communication, telecom, and ITES, FMCG, durables, retail and e-commerce, auto and auto components. These are the top sectors where employer value proposition as a concept is being populated and is being ingrained in the organizational DNA. What potential employees want when they choose an employer? So work-life balance, attractive salary and benefits, very good reputation. Now, very good reputation. It's often very important that they get a boost. Their morale has to be boosted by saying that, okay, I work for this organization and this particular organization has great reputation. Financially, whereas your blue collared employees are more interested in looking at financially healthy organization, their financial strength, the strong management, good training, job security, career progression. Now, 1 in 3 Indian employees intend to change employer. 41% are from the young age group. We know all this. Now, all this, I'm building a background for creating employer value proposition. Next slide. Next slide. How is employer value proposition populated in an organization? How do you do that? Do you create this employer value proposition statement and next day you send a mailer across to everybody stating that this is your employer value proposition? No, it will have absolutely no impact. This is not created in the boardrooms of the organization. How is it done? You have to first assess what does the organization feel about you? What do they need? What does the employee need? It may be different in different industry and different organization. So it is very important to understand and assess the need of the employee. I'll come to this how to do that in the coming slides. Create your employer value proposition. Build on the employer value proposition. Now, how do you build on it? Constant change is the only constant of life. We all know that. Constantly markets are changing, objectives are changing, strategies are changing. Employers branding is changing, your brand values are changing. With the change in this, even the employer value proposition has to be relooked at every constant time. Finally, you populate the employer value proposition. So these are the steps. First is your assessment of what should be the contents of your employer value proposition. Then you create employer value proposition. You build employer value proposition, and then you populate. What does populate mean? Communicate it across the people. Next.
Ma'am, do you think we can launch a poll or can we
Yes.
keep it later?
We should launch a poll.
Okay, so let me choose this poll. The concept of employer value proposition is a very ambiguous term. What do you think is it? Is it yes or a no? Let us know what you think. I'll leave this on for the next 1 minute. And I think this can create some debate. Okay, and we'd like to see maximum engagement here, guys. The engagement on the chat has been great. Let's see the same thing over here. So there's about 20, about 20 who've responded so far. Okay, most of them think it's yes. Okay.
That's precisely why we have this webinar today.
True. Okay, 32 have responded. Can we have 40? Can we have 40? Okay, stuck at 33. All right, can we have 35? Can we have 35? Two more responses. Two more, guys, just two more responses. Anyone? Okay, no problem. Well tried. Let me end the poll and I'll anyway share the results. So obviously, most of them think it's a yes. Jyothi ma'am, would you like to comment something on this?
Absolutely. I would like to comment on this because this is a very nascent concept in India. Not India, in many organizations, only very evolved organizations which have been evolved in HR practices, evolved in people practices. I wouldn't say HR practices, I would say people practices have been able to at least develop an employer value proposition, get along, populate them, and live employer value proposition as a concept. So it's at a very nascent stage. So there is a lot of question around what employer value proposition is and how it is going to help an organization to retain, to attract, to build capabilities, to create learning and development opportunities, succession planning, and all the other aspects. How is it going to help the employees? This question is going to be answered in the coming slides.
All right, let me end the poll.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So how do you assess the need for employer value proposition? What should be your employer value proposition? What are your inputs? The inputs are your engagement surveys, where you assess the level of satisfaction, engagement, and association in an organization. You try and understand what exactly people are thinking about your organization. What do they want and what is missing as a link that connects the people and your organization. You get this exactly from the engagement surveys. Then focused group discussions. A lot of organizations have this opportunity where they have focus group discussion, cross-functional groups to be formed to elicit the right response from the employees as to what exactly is missing in the organization. Usually this is done after the engagement surveys. Exit interview feedback for opinion on missing link or connect for employees perspective. So this exit interview will give you what is a missing link that connect employees from the organization, as the result of which they are parting ways. So these are few areas from which you can get the data to create your employer value proposition. Next. How do you create a good EVP? An employer value proposition is a combination of rewards and benefits that employees get in return for their work. We know that. Gartner's research found that most people, the things that make up compelling EVP are compensation, work-life balance, stability, location, and respect. Over here, there is a concept called as work-life balance, whereas in my parlance, in my world, I call it as integration of work and life concept. EVP essentially is much more than what is written in the employee contract. Absolutely. So is culture written in employee contract? Is the way you treat your employees written in employee contract? Is the way the leaders lead the employees written in the employee contract? No. So what is written in the employee contract is just tangible aspects. So somebody here has put up a question stating that why is it only intangible aspect? I'm not saying that it is only intangible aspect. It's a combination of tangible as well as intangible aspect. Somebody has written one statement regarding that. I don't recollect who and what. So we'll come to that essentially. Yeah. Build the EVP over a period of time. You're changing mission, vision, values, your corporate values change over a period of time. So your EVP cannot remain the same over a period of time. It has to change according to the change in employer value proposition, according to the change in your mission, vision, and corporate values. You're changing brand awareness. Your brand may change. Tomorrow you may completely rebrand yourself. So can your employer value proposition remain same? No. It has to be aligned to your brand as well. People need to, for example, I'll give you examples of few employer value proposition. You'll come to know how these employers have built their value proposition around their brand, and how the brand and the employer value proposition are related to each other. Your growth strategy, whatever is your growth strategy, it has to be linked to your growth strategy. Next. How do you populate the EVP? What do you mean by populating the EVP? Populating the EVP means communicating it to the employees. It is very important that your employees know what is exactly EVP and how the EVP is important in their tenure during the organization. Now, how do you do that? Internal newsletters, town hall meetings. Use your ambassadors to reinforce the EVP. Now, how do you do that? While I was in ACC, what we used to do that is we used to have constantly people who are the ambassadors of the organization, such as people who've done really well in the organization, have grown up the ranks, are proponents of the organization, to speak to newcomers, speak to people who are prospects, speak in the website, put it on the social media, to talk about their experience in the organization, which actually populates the concept of EVP. Update it in your social website or social media. All this is very important. These are very important for you to populate the EVP. And populating the EVP is one of the most difficult aspect among all the steps, because it's not just that you send an email and suddenly people starts feeling, oh, this is my value proposition that my employer is sharing. No, every aspect of your organization or your people practices have to be aligned to your employer value proposition. Now, how do you do that? Next slide, please. How to foster connections in work. Now, simply, supposing today, a lot of people aiming at work from home and hybrid working. Yes or no? Do you face this? I just want to ask quickly on the chat box. Do you face it difficult to actually make a connection between employees working from home and in hybrid working condition? Is there a difficulty in creating a bond because of this concept? Some people say no, some people say yes. A lot of people are saying yes.
Yeah.
So why? Can we know why?
Okay, can someone back as the reason to why you think it is? Anyone?
Okay, fair enough. So yes, there are concerns, but it is not an impossible task. No personal connect, absolutely. Lack of communication, frequent communication. It is difficult to create bond and understand and scale. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. But it is not impossible. See, you cannot, as I told you, the competition between the competition is of the employers is not between companies. They're not fighting against another organization for talent. The talent war, the talent war is not between organizations. It is between the emerging needs of the new generation. So post pandemic, lot of people are demanding work from home and hybrid working, and you cannot ignore that talent because they have real competencies and skills required for your roles. So you cannot totally ignore those talent as well. So if you are having a concept of work from home or hybrid working, it is imperative that you create certain uh, strategies to bring people together, create certain opportunities for people to come together and join hands and connect with each other. For example, an annual retreat, team building exercises, new recruits orientation. This is the most important because who is most disoriented among in an organization are the new recruits. They join the organization, they are not aligned to the mission, vision, values, and the employer value proposition in an organization. So this is very important that you have a new recruits orientation. Strategy sessions. Your team, your leadership team should frequently meet for strategy sessions, which will create a shared vision among the team members. Because vision, mission, and values are not something that can work in silos. They need to work as they have to go, they have to scale up, they have to be a shared vision, mission, and value.
Yeah. Can we launch another poll, ma'am, or
You
shall
can
we
launch
cover?
another. You can
Okay.
launch another.
Yeah. Okay. Employee value proposition is synonymous to employer branding. What is your take on this? Whether yes or no? Let me give another minute on this.
Interesting.
Some really quick responses on this.
Yeah. $32 have answered.
32, 33. Yeah, this should be sufficient.
Sure, 34. There's still responses coming in, Siddharth.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give another 5 seconds. Yeah, 35 is good enough. Let me end the poll.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for responding. Yes and no. The reason that I'm saying no, they are both two sides of a coin. For example, employer value proposition is something that that is focused mainly at uh, building the talent pool of an organization, whereas employer branding is something that you focus to the other people outside of the organization. So employer value proposition, of course, is used for talent as well. So it's both sides of a coin. So I would like to say that it is a yes. Employer value proposition is synonymous to employer branding. They are linked to each other. They are interchangingly used as well.
Okay.
Next slide.
Yeah. So I'll end the poll. I'll just stop sharing the poll and go to the next slide.
Okay, which parameters of HR should employer value proposition reflect? Talent management, building capabilities, rewards and recognition, and organization culture. All of these. So how does it happen in talent management? For example, your value proposition as an employer should attract talent as well as retain talent. People should feel that this particular statement is being lived in the organization. Only then people will join the organization and stay back in the organization. Building capabilities. Now, building capabilities are learning and development, succession planning, uh, all of that, change of roles, internal referrals, so many things are there that comes under building capabilities. So your employer value proposition should indicate that you as an employer are concerned about the growth and development of the employees within the organization. Rewards and recognition, organization culture. Now culture, as I told you, there are certain intangible aspects of rewards that an employee gets while joining an organization. That is the organization culture. So it is basically your employer value proposition has to be directly related to the organization culture. Your culture should reflect that this is your employer value proposition. Yeah. Okay, now this is the time which I actually this is the time which I would like you to read this particular employer value proposition. Now Nike's employer value proposition is win as a team. So how do they do that? The culture from their culture promotes teamwork for innovation of sports. The perks and remuneration are aligned to this value proposition. As a team, their rewards and recognition are team aligned. For example, they may be using their balanced scorecard approach, or I'm not aware of that. However, they are using winning as a team as a concept of employer value proposition. PWC, be well, work well. This particular employer value proposition promotes culture of physical, enthusiastic, mental, and other well-being. Now, most interesting that I like out of the lot is Unilever's employer value proposition. You are more than your title. Can you see how powerful this particular employer value proposition? Do you find this as a powerful employer value proposition? Yes or no? Can somebody put on the chat box? Is this powerful? Yes.
Yeah, there are responses. Yeah.
Yeah. So they are number one manager of choice in more than 40 markets. And that is why they live by their employer value proposition. So to summarize, employer value proposition is a promise that you make to your employees in their organization so that they join the organization and they are retained in the organization over a period of time. And this happens on the key challenge here is if you have an employer value proposition and you are not able to live within the organization, you will have challenge of people leaving your organization because it seems very ingenuine for people that you have a value proposition, however, it's not being lived in the organization. So the most important challenge here is how you as HR heads, HR managers are able to ingrain the concept of employer value proposition within the organization in various aspects, in various HR concepts such as your learning and development, building capabilities, rewards and recognition, culture, talent management, whatsoever. So this time I would like to instead of having more slides and more discussion, would like to throw open for the Q&A after Siddharth gives me a permission to do so.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes. So there are actually a lot of queries here and there. I would definitely like to take that up. But what I'm thinking is I'm quickly going to explain a little bit about the HR onboarding solution. Just seeing if time persists. We might not have enough time. So let's do one thing. You know what? We will actually take up the queries. That's fine, ma'am. We might not have enough time. So that's okay. We will get into the queries itself. So those of them who had showed interest for our platform on the HR onboarding aspect, we will show you a demo on a one-to-one basis. So that will be taken care of. Okay, so let's get into the queries itself. So how about we answer the ones that are on the Q&A first?
Yeah,
the Q&A
sure,
tab.
sure. So the first question is, what is the best way of salary negotiations being a candidate? Being a candidate, from the candidate's perspective, okay, from the candidate perspective, it is very easy. You can negotiate with the help of your skills and abilities that you have, and today it's employees market, so it is very easy for you to negotiate salaries. If you would have asked me, being an employer, I would have had a lengthier answer to this question. However, to be very precise, as a candidate, it is very easy to negotiate your salary, because you are going to talk about your skill sets. You're going to talk about your capabilities, competencies, etc. Need to improve our employee retention rates. What strategies would you use to do this? Okay, Mr. Sharad Kumar has asked this question. Sharad, employee retention rates is, as I told you, is reducing. It's not about retaining the employees alone by some strategy. I would recommend that if you really want to retain your employees, try to bring about a purpose why an employee should stay in your organization. Because if you think salary is the precursor, if you think the benefits is the precursor, then somebody is writing, I'll read that later. If salary is the precursor, employee is the remuneration is the precursor, then there is no end to this. You will have to keep on increasing the salary structure of an employee. So the way you can retain an employee, I can tell you that just 2 days back, I know of an employer who was able to retain an employee on the basis of certain aspects which are not tangible. I'm a consultant to that organization. That's the reason I know that. And the reason why that employee stayed back is primarily only because of the fact that, of course, it was not that the employee did not receive any financial gains. However, the promise of growth and development is what the employee wanted, and he stayed back in the organization. Next question is by Sonam Sharma. No, she's just said yes. Siddhartha.
Yeah. I think this is fine, ma'am. Q&A is okay. We can go back to the chats. Let me just scroll up and see what we have, because a lot of yes and no's in between.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let me just answer from the bottom itself. Employer. Okay, so we have a question from Ms. Neha. Employer value proposition being offered to the employee might not be perceived as value for the employee. How to manage this?
Neha, employee value proposition is never offered to the employee. It is instilled in the system. It is not about a sentence or a statement that you share with the employee. It is a promise that you're doing. For example, in your personal life, if you're giving promise to somebody that once you come into, it's like an institution of marriage where nothing is written anywhere, but when there is a lot of cohesiveness in the employer and the employee. Now, for example, you are saying that there will be no value. It's not a statement that you're giving. For example, I spoke about Nike. Now, Nike is teamwork. Now, Nike, when they say we are best as a team, what does it mean? Their salary, their salary structure would be such that it would be based on a balanced scorecard approach, wherein the remuneration would be distributed as a team victory. So it is simply that whatever you're being stating, you're actually doing it. So it's not a statement that you're providing to the person.
Okay, next question from Mr. Milith. As a healthcare organization, we are not allowed to promote our brand on social media. In such case, how do we build an employer value proposition?
Employer value proposition is not a brand building exercise. It is a proposition that you create for your own employees for them to believe in you. So you have it is not a branding of your product, of your services. It is a branding of you as an employer, what is can be offered within the organization. So if you are not able to do it outside the organization, you can always bring in a value proposition that your internal employees can internalize and understand. It's basically something which employees understand that is being followed in the organization. For example, Microsoft, Google, they know that the work life integration is very high. How do they know that? That is the, if they have a value proposition like that, how do they know that? Because it is being followed in their organization. So it is just about what is being followed. If you say something, adhering to that something is what is very important.
All right. Next question from Mr. Pratik. How to align management systems with thought process of management, and what to unlearn and update with the new learning?
Wow, this is a good question. I think I can take it as a project in myself, as a consultancy project. No, but can you read that question once again?
Yeah, sure, one. How to align management systems with thought process of the management, and what to unlearn? Yeah.
It's statistics. Basically, for example, I'll just give an example. I don't know what exactly are the thought processes that requires a connect in your organization. It is very important to present facts and stats to the management, as in people who are the business runners. They understand stats and facts. If you're able to present these two aspects to the management, then there is no problem. They understand your concerns. Because if the most of us as HRs, we kind of present concerns of the employees in a very lucid manner. That is not how it should be done. It should be done with proper facts and figures. So how many people have exactly left the organization, for what reason? Have people, are we less paid in the as compared to the industry standards? Are we highly paid? Are we mid paid in terms of the industry standards? Is there a disparity between various departments in our company? So these are the statistics we need to provide to the management to break that disconnect between the management and the HR. Yeah, somebody's raised a hand. I would like to answer.
Yeah. Just one moment. That is Miss Sonam. Miss Sonam. Audience, actually, we can also allow you to talk to Miss Jyothi directly. Those of you who would like to do that can raise their hand or just type a yes or no on that. I'll be able to do that. Miss Sonam, would you like to interact with her directly? I can just give you the permissions to talk and you can unmute yourself.
So I'm audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, Sonam.
How we create this awareness for our employees on this value issue?
Proposition. Right. So Sonam, if you know, I mentioned that we can have town halls, we can have emailers, we can have strategic meets, we can have various forums in which, like, how do you propagate your mission and vision among your employees? You share this mission and vision with them, and you tell them how this mission and vision is being instilled in various strategies of your organization. So for example, if you're saying that your particular employer value proposition is win as a team, then you should be able to explain to your team, as win as a team being your employer value proposition, how are you implementing this value proposition in various aspects of your HR. This is how you need to explain to your team members. See, this is how I'm able to implement it in recruitment. This is how we are doing it in building capabilities. This is how our organization culture is all about. This is how we treat people. So you're supposed to tell them every time they join the organization, every time they are you're meeting them as a group. For every group, when you meet, your first thing is that you must share your mission, vision, values, and proposition with your team members, so that this get ingrained in their minds.
Sure. Thanks, Jyothi.
Thank you, Sonam. Thank you, Sonam, for the question.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to interact directly? And I think a few comments on the chat. How to retain employees if they're leaving due to work culture, from Mr. Vijay.
You have to work on the work culture. As simple as that. You have to find the key indicators of culture that are not going right in the organization, whether it is people, process, or systems. What is a culture? What is a work culture? A work culture constitutes the people, the systems, and the processes. You need to identify what systems, processes, and procedures in your organization create a disconnect among the people. As HR, it is required that you identify that, present it to the top management, make changes, and change is the most painful process. Change in culture will not happen within a day or two. It has to be over a period of time. So over a period of time, when you change things and when you change processes, and people try and train people who are in the leadership role to these processes, sensitize them, only then your culture will change. So that only then people will stop leaving the organization because of the culture. It's not an easy thing, I understand, but it is the only way to do it. Siddharth, any other question?
Yeah. So if you remember, Mr. Pratik had asked a question. So he's responded back saying, I agree, but how this is about to change education management, about transformation. Mr. Pratik, I'm not sure if I understood that. Would you like to directly interact?
Yeah, let Pratik, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Just one moment. But Mr. Pratik, I can give you the permissions to talk. Hold on. Yeah, you can actually unmute and talk. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Can you listen me?
Yes, Pratik. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, ma'am. All well?
All right, thank you.
Okay. See, this is about to the same as what we discussed a few minutes back about the work culture, right?
Right.
This is about to the people, system, and process. But the thing about to what we are facing in our local area, the maturity level of the management was not as per the level of that what they hiring or they recruit a talented people in the system. So this is my question, like how to educate the management, like this is the requirement what we are facing the current scenarios about to the development or about to the growth that what we are strategically planning for a next 1 year, 2 year or a 5 year.
Correct. So Pratik, let me counter question you. So far, what has been your initiative in terms of convincing the manager? How have you been trying to convince the management?
Multiple time I am trying to convince them, but they are
By doing what?
They are easily they are easily accepting the things like about to, like we are interested about the production and sales only. Why we are expanding or expensing more with HR? Because Yes, they
So
are not.
over a period of time, Pratik, they will understand this, because you'll be constantly, I always say, knock at the door till it opens.
But
Till
multiple time I'm trying to knocking that, but
you'll have to wait and watch, because not all
okay.
management, you'll have to present data and facts in terms of presentations. You have to present data and facts. We always talk with data and facts. So many people left the organization as a result of which this was the organization's loss, opportunity
Okay.
loss. Talk in terms of the loss of money that an organization, they understand this language.
Right. So I think I'll need to be more prepared with some more statistics and analytics.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Not
Pratik.
an issue.
Thank you,
Fine,
Pratik.
fine. Thanks, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thanks. Thank you, Pratik. Okay. So, ma'am, actually, there are a few questions from the registrations list as well, but I will actually prioritize the ones that are anyway incoming here.
Okay.
We have a question from Mr. Roshan. Employer spending money on employees is very less. How do we manage this?
Employer spending money on employees.
Money on employees is very less. How to manage that?
You have to, again, I would go back to my own original words, that what is the requirement for spending money on employees? Why is your employer not convinced on the fact that needs to be a money spent on employees? So how are you convincing the management? What mode of convincing are you using to convince the management? If the management understands that the money he or she be spending, each pie is going to bring return on its investments, then no management will differ from spending money. I worked for the last 23 years in human resources, and I face this problem innumerable times, that when going gets bad, the first thing that is cut is HR activities. But however, it is very important for HR to stand up strong and communicate to the management what are the important things that can go wrong if HR spends are reduced. It may not be the complete, you may not splurge money, but at the same time, there are certain aspects of HR where you need to spend money on. If you're able to convince them with, again, stats and facts, I always talk about stats and facts, then there is always a room for the management's understanding. How many of us have a dashboard in HR? So create an HR dashboard which you have to present every now and then to the management, which will give the management a clear idea of what needs to be done.
Okay. A rather general question from Mr. Divakar from the Q&A tab. Most of the people think that HR job is only a sitting job. How do we change this type of thought process? What do you think about it? Very generic, but yeah.
Yeah, very important question. Yes. What is the gentleman's name?
Mr. Divakar.
Mr. Divakar, yes, I do agree with you. Many times you get that feedback. However, when it comes to a point where gone are those days. Actually, now most of the organizations are not thinking of HR jobs like that. There are organizations still living in the old age, but modern organizations, younger organizations still believe in the fact that people, HR is a way of life. Yeah.
Okay, let's move to the next question from Ms. Nikita. Continuing with Mr. Pratik's answer, what should be the next step to follow after showing them facts, figures, inclined them to HRD process and employee engagement, etc.?
Then you create a roadmap for yourself.
All right. Moving to the next question from Mr. Mahantesh. Is it mandatory to maintain the same policy for corporate, head office, and other branches?
Certain processes are common, certain processes need to be very tailor-made for factories, plants, and corporate houses. So it all depends. For example, the generic rewards and recognitions remain same for everybody. However, employee engagement initiatives may change from factories and plants to head offices. So this aspects can change.
Okay. So I think we are almost closing the session. I'd like to know if there are anyone else who would like to directly interact. We'll keep the the platform open for that. Those who would like to directly ask any questions, anything HR, anything related to EVP that you would like to ask Ms. Jyothi.
Yeah.
I'd like to connect offline on the above subject. Okay. All right, Mr. Mahantesh, I'll be able to facilitate that. No worries. Is there anyone else who would like to interact with Ms. Jyothi right now by unmuting? Anyone? You can either raise your hand or just type a yes. I'll be able to do that.
I think questions are done.
Yeah.
They're tired of me.
Okay, looks like we don't have any further questions. All right. Okay, great. So if that's the case, on that note, we would like to close the session for today. Thank you all for your inputs. Thank you all for the engagement throughout the session. I hope we were able to answer all your queries. And those of them who have shown interest for our platform, we'll be reaching out to you in the next 2 or 3 working days, and we'll be able to show you a free demo of our solution as well. So on that note, I'd like to close the session for today, and a huge shout out and thank you for the efforts and time taken by Ms. Jyothi Santosh Nair on yet another great webinar. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you for calling me. Thanks everybody for attending my webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you all and have a great day. Bye.
Bye.